I went to the military when I was 20. That's 74 years ago.
Wow.
In 1950. You know, I missed World War II by 3 years. Well, one thing is that, you learn a certain amount of discipline, and there's not too much of that around that I see today, and I see this is one reason why we're kind of going the direction that I don't want us to see us go.
I am coming here today from the 104th Annual Corvallis Memorial Day Parade, here to ask veterans some very fun questions. How do you think the military has changed since you served?
Since I began, I was a draftee, and the military's become a full volunteer force. And that's a huge change.
Do you want to rip that?
Because you don't have draftee military serving any longer. Everyone's a volunteer, and that makes a big difference in the performance of the military.
I think it ended, 1973?
Yes.
With the Vietnam War? Okay, the conscription at the time. Yeah, you're right. That is a big difference. And so, curious, do you think that there's more motivation then, or do you think that there's kind of less readiness because there's not that same, all together?
Oh, no. There's more readiness, and people stay longer. You're not just training a guy up and have him for a 2-year period. Now the enlistments are longer, and the re-enlistments, I think, are much, much better too. So you get people staying longer.
Starting with, what lessons did you learn in the military that you still carry with you today? Sure,
So
more
many.
than you can count.
So many. I think the top would be, of course, teamwork. That it's really, there's times when, although we believe often it's just all about us, that you have to face the reality that you're not going to succeed with just you. It takes a team, and everybody has their piece. And so teamwork, I think, is one of the first things that you really realize, not through being told it, by being shown it, right?
Yeah.
As a team, you're so much stronger. And I think the other thing is personal responsibility. No excuses. You work through a problem. We're always going to face obstacles, and you figure it out. And that's part of working that problem and continuing on with your focus and not accepting, concession. You keep pushing on until you achieve what the mission is.
Yeah.
And in life, that's a really valuable tool as well, because it's never easy. You always got to fight. Fight through.
That's awesome. So teamwork, personal responsibility, those are two great attributes and just things to really funnel if you are pursuing the military or anything else in life. It's awesome. Well, thank you, Tori.
You bet.
And also Luna, bring down here.
Luna.
Do you have any advice you'd like to give to potential students following the military?
She said keep snacks.
Eat snacks, I like it. Or keep snacks. Keeping snacks is also important. What do you think civilians often misunderstand about people who join the military or military life in general?
I think the biggest misconception is the impact on the family. That when a service person joins the military, it's really a family commitment more than it is just an individual commitment. We see the uniforms and we see the deployments, and we don't see behind the scenes where spouses and children are affected by the absence of one of their family members and the stress of that. So I take my hat off to any of the spouses that really, keep everything on the home front going as we defend our nation's freedoms.
Yeah, thank you. I think American cinema and the military movies try to portray that increasingly. I think we just recently watched American Sniper. I think that really well captures how Chris Kyle and his family dynamic there, but still don't lack the full authenticity, I think, that they face. But yeah, that's an awesome answer.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the final question I will ask is, what advice do you consider giving young people who want to join the military?
Look at what your interests are to see how you can contribute to the service. If you're adventurous and you want to do something different with your life, you could talk and research what you want to do. I think it's a misconception that the military is just a chance you join up and there's just a chance at what you're going to do. I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially with the new cyber defense systems and Space Command and a bunch of others that allow you a lot of variety in your choice.
That's good. We have whole new domains of war opening up, it seems. That's for sure. Awesome.
We do, and hopefully freedoms.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Bill.
Take care.
Hey, you made him do it? All right. Women's
Awesome. So I'm here with Ralph. Ralph, would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself for the audience?
Do you want to know? I've lived here long enough to know Lewis and Clark. I was raised in Missoula my first 20 years. I went to the military when I was 20. That's 74 years ago.
Wow.
In 1950. And I missed World War II by 3 years. I was 3 years too young. And my dad was in the Navy, World War I. I have a son that was in the Vietnam War, and a grandson that was in Afghanistan. So I'm like every other family in the United States. We got piles of people in the military, and that's the way it's been. And that's why we're a free country.
Yeah, that's amazing. So with that just vast of time in the military, like you said, 1950, joined the Navy, if I understand correctly. What kind of things have you taken away from the military service that carry over into your life today and life some years ago?
Well, one thing is that, you learn a certain amount of discipline. And there's not too much of that around that I see today. And I see this is one reason why we're kind of going the direction that I don't want us to see us go. But families in those early days, I was raised in the Great Depression in 1930, and we were told that we should learn something to make a living because there wasn't Social Security in those days. And they said, eventually you're going to get old and you better have some kind of money in the bank so you can live. And Social Security still wasn't dreamed of until later on. But that's going to be the thing. We should take care of ourselves, and we should take ourselves physically and as long as we can. And I think the most important thing in a person is a nice personality. I don't care how beautiful you are. Personality is the first thing I'm going to see in you, and I don't think if you weigh 450 pounds, I won't see that. I'll see your personality, and that's what I want to see. I want to see what kind of a person you are.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so my audience is a lot like 14 to 24-year-olds. And so I'm curious, what advice would you give young people considering joining the military?
I really enjoyed the military, and I would have stayed in it, except I had an apprenticeship. I had served as an apprenticeship in the masonry business when I was young. But I could have stayed very easy in the military, retired at...
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 104th annual...
Retired at 40 years old. And I could have gone to school when I got out and become whatever I wanted. And I think those are real opportunities because at that time in your life, their military years are really not, at that time, your life isn't that important. You're in a learning period, and it isn't like when you're getting married and you have to take 3 years out of your life during your
also,
married
if you have
life.
a civic group that has an activity today,
I think it's a smart thing.
we'll get the time and when
I encourage young people to do it because I know a bunch of them that have done it, that have,
Corvallis Cemetery Road.
and gone to the schools they wanted to after they got out and done very successful. And that's the idea, try to be successful at something.
Ladies,
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate it.
And here come the veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 1507 in Victor, Montana.
Awesome. So I'm here with the Grand Marshal of this year's Memorial Day Parade. Don, would you mind starting off by just telling us a little about yourself?
Sure. At the military service end of it, I served in the Army for 7 years, spent 3 of those 7 overseas. Vietnam, Berlin, Germany, and South Korea.
Wow, yeah, a little of everywhere.
And when I got out, I went to work for the post office, worked for them for 33 years.
And then 33.
Yeah.
Wow. Kind of fitting that there's a post office behind us.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so I was curious, reading your story a little, for your military service, was there anything that you would tell young people considering joining the military today? What would be your advice to them?
Do well on your test scores, and you can pretty much get the job you want. You know, the better you do, the better chances you have. And it's a really good experience. You know, you get to meet people from everywhere, and it's sometimes good duty, sometimes not so much. But yeah, it's a good opportunity to learn a skill.
Yeah, it's good advice. 'Cause I know my audience is mainly like 14 to 24-year-olds. So knowing that, young people might be considering the military, really cool.
Sure, it's something to think about anyway, you know, because a lot of young kids and even kids that are in their freshman year of college, they really don't know what they want to do. So,
Right.
Plus, once you've been in the military, you get the GI Bill, and your college is paid for.
I guess the last question is, what do you think is often a disconnect for civilians to understanding service members or veterans, and do you see how that can be remedied?
The climate, I guess, has not been good here the last 5 years, 10 years maybe. I think they're just sick of war and sick of wanting to be in wars. So that's probably the biggest drawback. And for recruiters, they've got a tough job these days, so yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. Great to meet you. What advice would you consider giving young people who are considering joining the military?
Join.
Yeah. Easy.
I would say join.
Okay. Is it the discipline aspect? You'd see a lot of young people benefiting from that, kind of getting outside themselves, serving the nation, or is it a lot of those different reasons?
Well, probably two main reasons. One, for the individual, because it does teach a lot of individual responsibility and leadership, and it's a great profession to prepare you for civilian life. Let's say you only stay 3 or 4 years. The things that you learn and what you experience in that short period of time is phenomenal. And you carry that forward, and potential employers, they know that. They can see that. And the other thing is, the second thing for the country, it's a great thing for the young people to understand the cost of serving and the cost of defending the country. So it's good for the individual and it's good for the country.
Awesome, thank you. That's perfect.
Look, I'm glad you're doing this.